damage here. We saw a little bit more facilitation coming out from Danny Swift. Just wants to kill people. Let's see if he can do that again as we head into game number 2. That's Twist of Fate. There's going to be a ban coming out from Vici. So possibly in that last game could have been a takeaway from Dade instead of a interesting team composition coming out from Vici.
As the speculation lies, you would be absolutely correct.
As Rise is going to be taken off the board from blue side. As Newbee banned that one away. We should see a Vladimir ban as well. We saw no Rek'Sai last game, which was surprising.
Yeah, and nor Kindred. So coming into this second one, interestingly enough, we'll ban it instead.
Hello.
It says, like, so banning the Rek'Sai on blue side when you have first pick means that they could be looking towards the priority of Nidalee taking it away from Swift.
Yep.
Means he would default to the Rek'Sai. He does play that a fair bit. Leaves open Kindred, however, which also was completely unattended. They're ruining the stats at the bottom of your screen. That's what they're doing.
Rise is still 100% picked in mana.
Even Lucian.
It's not quite LPL.
It's ruined.
It's not quite LPL if there isn't one champion that is 100% picked and banned for most of the season. Spring Split, it was Alistar. Now we're getting a little bit of the Rise.
Yeah, I believe that actually rang true for the split beforehand also.
Lissandra and Vladimir were the bans that come out from Newbee to round us out. As Kassadin is going to be the ban coming out from Vici one more time. Dade is not going to be getting his hands on this champion. I would like to say that this is the Nile pick coming from Swift. They do lock it in. I was going to say they toyed with our hearts last game with the Victor.
I already told you that was going to happen, man. They banned Rek'Sai.
We said that about Victor.
No, but they banned Rek'Sai, so they had to go for Nidalee. Remember, we're in game 2 of a best of 3, so adaptive plays makes a lot more sense.
They do lock it in, so Swift not going to get that champion this time round. And finally, this season, Dandy is going to get his second champion onto double digits. It's going to be the Nidalee. Played it 10 times now.
Yeah. Newbee to respond. They don't need to prioritize that middle lane unless they outright want to take something from Easy Hoon. You have to keep in mind that they're on red side as well, so they have the counter pick option. And usually you'd see jungle support or jungle top lane in whatever order they choose here, because they don't really care what V plays. They just want him to do his job. Be a giant tree, or a Nautilus, or something that can just be a pest and like
a Trundle.
And tank. Yeah.
We've seen Trundles rain havoc on Summoner's Rift here. As it is going to get locked in, as well as the Elise pick coming in for Newbee.
I'm just as guilty of this as you are, but I'm going to buy you a book of synonyms.
I will definitely need one. That was intentional, though.
I know. You didn't pause for no reason afterwards.
Looking at you for a reason too. Trundle and Elise being locked in, so no Graves coming out, no Kindred again, ruining the stats at the bottom of the screen one more time. Elise has been a jungle that we've seen resurge in popularity across multiple regions in 6-11.
Yeah, well, she's always been good. Elise has always been a fantastic champion. It's just that other people jumped up, Nidalee and Kindred, and just became god tier for a while.
This Bard and Azir are going to be the lock-ins next for Vici, the double gold combo.
Yeah, the actual golden chicken combo. You have to remember that that is quite dangerous. One to set up, one to follow up. You can go both directions. Bard as well denied from more. Caveman, quite a good Bard himself. And Easy Hoon was not banned out in game number 2.
That's right. Gets his signature champion of the Azir.
And a lot of priority on that Kassadin ban from Dade. Easy Hoon very limited towards magic damage champions, it feels like. Control mage player, notoriously good late game team fighter.
As Braum and Victor are going to be the next 2 lock-ins coming in from Newbee, so they take the other matchup of the control mage, as well as one of the more popular melee supports that we see still in the LPL.
As I actually wrote down Sivir and then realized that it's Xuan P, so there might well be a Twitch or a Jhin. Happy even hovering that earlier, signaling that they may look for it. We'll see what they actually end up with. Dade as well playing that Victor is a very different style to his game number 1 strength.
Sivir is actually locked in, so you don't have to cancel that one up.
I already did.
We'll write it again.
I can't rewrite pen. It's tainted.
This is going to be the next lock-in for Vici. You can already see Long has changed his summoner spells to Ignite and Teleport to bring that one up to the top lane.
Lots of magic damage on the side of Vici, so the Civ are able to compensate by hitting all targets with ricochets. The only real source of physical, though, Which means that Newbee could look towards a strategy of kill the Sivir. You don't really want to do that against a Fizz and an Azir, and that's the beauty of what Vici have actually compiled for themselves. Nidalee and Bard to protect Xuan P, and then Easy Hoon and their top laner Lung to be massive backline threats.
Gives the final pick for Newbee, going on over towards their 80 carry, Happy, formerly known as Pekko, formerly TNT. He's changed his name quite a few times. Has his choice of champion here to go up against the Vici roster. It's going to be Ezreal, champion that he is rather famous for.
He does excel on this champion. Now, it's being picked into the Fizz also. Picking a low mobility champion runs a risk of just being killed constantly. We saw it from Gimgoon when he played Fizz earlier in the week. He can get onto that backline and be very deadly.
You can also try and shut down your lane opponent very early on into the match, especially with a little bit of jungle pressure.
And Trinity Force, which was picked up from him last time around, of course. Being on the new patch, having the changes to Trinity Force, the occasional Fizz will go for it. We've seen a Wit's End on a Kindred as well. Anything can happen.
It's Frozen Mallet as well, being played by a Kindred.
Yeah, well, that's just blacked out of my memory.
There's been some interesting item builds and interesting champion picks, but coming into this game, nothing too surprising. No more Yasuo. Just at least thrown into the mix for Newbee this time round.
Yeah, so they round out their team compositions. Newbee standard team fighting with a bit of pick to boot between Braum, Trundle, and Elise. Those on the side of Vici. They have their fair share of damage, and to an extent, it's pick as well, but easier to execute.
Let's see if they can execute it properly as we head into game number 2 between Vici and Newbee. And we've loaded on to Summoner's Rift here for game number 2 between Newbee and Vici. Currently, Newbee leading 1-0 after some fantastic team fights brought them back into the game against Vici in game number 1. No more tours around Summoner's Rift. Just going to watch as Newbee fan out and move across the map to scout out for some vision.
That's right, but last game, whilst Newbee came back, you have to remember that they were in the deficit in the first place. And Vici put them into the hole that they had to recover from, as Caveman is either revealing himself or is placing wards.
Oh, he's going to go for the chime. Guns it locked down there. Happy dealing lots of damage towards this Bard. Flash coming over the ward for more.
More and Happy were not on the same page, and they should not have flashed.
That was greedy from Caveman. He really wanted the chime.
But now it's just a summoner trade, and actually worse for Newbee. I think he was warding to look for potentially a lane swap. It is an Ezreal Braum. They're quite strong. We even said this last game. Sivir Bard is amazing.
He wanted the chime.
Well, they're also lane swapping. So, like, say what you will, Fish.
He wanted the chime.
I'm standing by this.
And I'm standing by he wanted the chime. It is Caveman, after all.
And what does that mean?
I don't know. It's just Caveman was endless.
Well, you can't make a point and then have a conversation with the color caster and not have a reason.
Have you seen me cast before? Spawn makes fun of me for doing that all the time. But we are going to see that lane swap, like you mentioned, coming out from Vici one more time here. They did it last game as well. It's not going to be matched by Newbee. They definitely want standard lanes here.
And whilst we saw a lot of fighting in the middle lane, recognize that Azir is strong at level 2 in comparison to the Victor, who has a shield at level 1. So we'll always win smaller trades. As Lung's he's not meant to be here.
He's getting hit quite a lot.
He's definitely not meant to be here.
Wasn't able to take the melee minions either.
It's also Easy Hoon playing Azir. So whilst we touched on maybe level 1 strength goes to Dade, Easy Hoon is playing his champion.
Not mistaken, he gets the skin for it too.
Yeah, he will eventually, I think. No promises.
Pretty well known.
That's not official at all from me.
Pretty well known as well.
He's an Azir god. He's a late game player, so Azir is actually just him as a style. Scale up, become unbearable. And with decent trading patterns in laning phase, he finds his way towards the late game quite handily, something that Vici does as a team anyway. And really, if you were to put EasyHoon on any team in the LPL, you might say WE, you might say Vici, just because they want to get to late game.
Both these teams actually very well known for going to late game. We talked about it quite extensively in game number 1. Just through different avenues. Vici likes to play the map game. Newbee likes to fight you. We saw those two styles conflict in game number 1. Probably going to see the same thing happen here again. As we are going to see 3 members of each team move down for this lane swap one more time. Actually, Long and V going at it down to the bottom lane. Swift coming down for the gank there. Playful Trickster does come out. The Cocoon is not going to land. Good side
Swift
step.
would have dove, but Dandy's here and the spear's on.
Spear does land on towards the Elise. Gets on top of Long to try and get out. Tries to jump towards the minions. Flashes away too.
Yeah, the Ignite actually used from Long to try and get the kill. Doesn't get the kill. He's only level 2. He doesn't have enough follow-up. As Dandy's not done.
He still wants more.
No, he wants Swift. That's their support. He definitely wants more jungle.
That's 2 times tonight. These names. I don't know where to go from here anymore, Rusty.
Just say thanks, Dad. I can tell you where Dandy's going, and that is straight into the face of Swift, because 1 spear to the face is all it takes. Aggressive from Swift as well. If that Cocoon hit, probably would have dove. Didn't go to plan. Fizz is a slippery champion to connect with.
So far, we're taking a look at the mid lane now. Still rather in favor of EasyHoon here. Azir has been nerfed slightly since 6.11. Ultimate doesn't last as long. It can no longer use his Arise to damage turrets directly.
And that was a mistake from Dade. He just wasted his entire mana pool. Doesn't have any summoners to keep him alive, and we'll get pushed out of this lane soon. Controlling minions is a difficult thing to execute on. Actually puts you at a risk of being killed by Vici.
Swift makes his way up towards the top lane. Shenshempi tries to shoot him away by throwing out the Boomerang Blade.
And this is the mistake potentially proving true.
Ghost has come out and a flash from Dabe. So 2 summoner spells being used by the Victor to try and get away. Dandy now tries to land a spear on towards Swift. Cocoon comes back out on towards the Lily.
Nice trade. Even securing his mini raptors. Oh, no, not that. Okay, they're not.
Almost.
So 2 out of 4 so far. We'll see how this one continues. The real play-by-play. Let's go.
They're going to try and smite this one
it.
away. Sniff, able to take it. Lands, or doesn't land that Cocoon. Then they're able to jump out of the range.
Dandy's pressure is huge now. He's at least keeping tabs of Swift at all times. And that means Elise as a ganking jungler is not getting as much done as Dandy, who is a farm jungler.
So the lanes were matched coming out from Newbee here. We didn't see them get anywhere close towards the outer turrets. It hasn't affected the top laner or bottom lane in terms of a CS or major CS discrepancy. But the isolated mid lane for the early parts of the game has been enough for EasyHoon to find a lead for himself.
Yeah.
Naturally a strong laner. Naturally really good at Azir as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So EasyHoon can get put on that pedestal from Vici once again and try and play the game out like that. They've also got Lung as a second option as a hyper carry top laner. And we'll see where his item build takes him up against Fizz. Whether it's dueling or whether it's just straight up tankiness. Because they need a tank on the side of Vici.
Well, V has already gone back to base and picked up 2 longswords for himself. So probably going to go towards the Ravenous Hydra on the Trundle. Long has not gone back to base yet. Still sitting on his empty corrupting potions.
And it looks like finally the junglers have different ideas. As this is risky.
That was aggressive from EasyHoon, but locks himself down inside of the gravity field, still trying to take down Dade as Caveman comes in towards the mid lane. No summoner spells for the mid lane. It means that Azir will pick up first blood for Vici. Now Swift in a lot of trouble. Doesn't have his own flash here. Will repel up and gets taken down by Caveman. 2 early picks for Vici.
And looks for the kill. Swift, of course, no flash to get out. Early lead once again established by this team that did have it taken out of their hands later on into the first game. We'll see if they can continue to consolidate that lead, because so far so good. And on the back of simple laning phase from EasyHoon.
As meanwhile, Long actually taking a lot of damage, taking up
dead.
a few
Wow.
too many turret hits. A good pillar coming out from V. Keeps himself alive and picks up a kill.
And we said pillars are what separate good Trundles from great Trundles. Well, V just puts on a clinic in how to use that button. Lung has a lot of escape tools, yet the pillar was timed well enough to keep him under that turret for 2 hits.
He was looking for the dive. You can see Chum the Waters and Ignite on cooldown. Lung not able to get that one. They dived him with no corrupting potion, no back after the double longsword came out from V. Interesting choice from the top laner of Vici.
Very impressive stuff, though, from V. He's one of those top laners that kind of flies under the radar.
Yep.
You don't always look at him and say, he's the best player on this team, or he's the carrier of this team, but sometimes he does it. You never really know what to expect, but he does it.
He's been able to create a nice CS lead for himself. He's about 15 CS ahead of Lung.
Kill the hot cocoa.
He still has one left. VKman will come back up to the top lane and help him out. As Blue Buff now going to get donated on over towards Dade. Much needed to try and hold out in this lane against Easyhoon, who's now 20 CS ahead of this Victor.
Yeah, and mid lane's essentially going to have to be what Vici often do for the side of Dade. That is damage control the heck out of it. Here's a Victor. He's level 7, so his wave clear can still kill the backline in one spell. You can't complain too much if you were Dade, but you can complain just enough that it might still get you killed.
Swift actually making his way down towards the bottom lane here. Has not been spotted out. Lung using the Q to try and get in there. And V is trying to fight him. At least hasn't made his mark just yet, but Lung now has to use that playful tricks to get out. A very patient gank from Swift finds V another kill.
Yeah, and almost pushed his limits to the point where he wasn't able to find it. But remember that Lung does not have flash. Both of his spells, one used offensively, one used defensively, means that there's no gap closer remaining to get himself out safely. So V and Swift playing towards their power point on this map, and that is the Trundle against the Fizz. One solo kill becomes a second kill, and a lot of damage onto this turret that won't go down just yet.
Still, that will be taken down in just a matter of a couple of more pushes.
Vici are actually swapping lanes to stop this from happening at all, which means that Newbee are going to have to respond and put their Trundle topside.
They do just that.
And the beauty of this from Vici, and I really like it, is that it slows the turrets from being taken down at all. There's no acceleration of gold for Newbee, and they are behind in gold, and it's going to stay that way because of this.
I think big thing, though, for Newbee is the fact that V didn't have to use his teleport to get back to lane there, so Longstars is down. Teleport advantage for now, for the Newbee roster. Let's see if they can use it within the next 5 minutes or so. Now Storm actually coming out from Dade there, which signals Easyhoon to go very aggressive. Lung is now in this mid lane. Dade taking a lot of damage. Chum the Water's not going to connect as V now gets on top of them. Danny taking a lot of damage from Swift. Newbee are definitely looking for this fight. Here comes more. Jumps on top of Lung. He gets taken down again, but Caveman does find the snipe. Ultimate will come out from Bard, trying to lock down V. Ignite is sticky as well onto towards this Trundle. He's trying to juke out as much as possible. But it's still a 1-for-1 trade.
And V's now 3-0. Dade gets his hand into a kill. But Vici come out slightly ahead, except that I think it was mostly just Bard that got the recipient of any kind of gold there.
Well, he's got 2 kills now, in comparison to the 3 that V has picked up on this Trundle.
Caveman mode. It was good, he actually flashed straight in and used his Ignite to get a kill.
Now we see one more time the advantage.
Got him.
The advantage of that teleport helping him out. Happy and Swift, they both know they're both in this brush. The ward spotted them out. Spear's going to come out, not going to connect.
The thing is they know, but at this point, it's been about 10 seconds.
Yep.
The assumption is they've recalled. But Happy is playing like someone's in the bush, so they are still going to be cautious.
Moore's now made his way down as well.
They're just playing this one way too, yeah.
They spotted out the ward too, so they know that Swift's still there.
They watched him leave. I think the turret actually in this bottom lane is still at risk of falling down between Ezreal and Braum in the 2v2. It's going to be harder to do though. And with the Infernal Drake being available on the bottom side of the map and no teleport for top laners, you might actually say that Vici are in with an opportunity to make a play.
It's at about 100 or 200 health now, the bottom lane out to turret.
There's a Trinity Force as well for Lung on this Fizz.
So they're picking up that new item. Doesn't give crits anymore, but the extra attack speed and the extra cooldown reduction helps out quite a lot for assassin top laners like the Fizz.
As in, the things that Fizz didn't need have been taken. The things that Fizz wants have been added.
It's a good item pickup. The only thing you really lose is the extra sticking power that Iceborne Gauntlet used to give you. A little bit of tanky stats from the armor.
Iceborne Gauntlet still gives it, but you're looking towards mobility opposed to denying them any of it. It's a bit different.
Yep.
Just the damage output increases. And that's actually a concern. We even said this during the early laning phase of this game. Lung not going for the Iceborne Gauntlet, not going for the tanky route. Who is the tank of Vici? I'll give you a tip. Nobody is the tank until they get 2 items, and Lung being 0-3 down means that his second item will be quite delayed.
Newbee, meanwhile, looking to try and take down an Infernal Dragon. Definitely one they would want, as it complements their playstyle quite well.
Team fighting. Yep, the team fighting Drake. If you just stop resetting and die.
Swift and Maul going to be able to take this one down. No response from Vici just yet. Should be smited away quite easily. Gets taken.
He watches them walk away. Controls, I think the blue buff is something that Dandy, on the side of Vici, could have looked towards, but instead he's on the top side. Once that Trundle...
Pinkwood did spot him out. Long, though, taking a lot of damage. Underwaters is going to go down. V spots a Dandy coming up here. A good flash is going to get him to safety for now. But V, he's going to get dived on here by Dandy, trying to dodge that final spear. Not going to be enough. Lung wants to try and find it. Playful Tricks are going to be able to come out. First to the main, keeps him sped up. V is able to escape the 2-on-1 gank.
So V does not have teleport and will be missing a lot of minions, however. So the 3-0 Trundle, that is all he's going to be. Vici can now make a map play. Look towards this. They're on wards here, so unfortunately... There you go. Well done from Dade, actually, to rotate it all.
That is satisfying.
Yeah, it's pretty up there. Unfortunately, this is the Vici style. Dade goes top, mid lane starts to push, and sooner or later, they will all break at once.
Newbee, meanwhile, are able to take down the bottom lane outer turret, getting the first turret for themselves, and the first turret of the game as well. They're still behind in terms of gold, so Vici in a very good position, especially if they can find some more standing gold here.
Yeah, and V's actually going to have to potentially teleport out from here, but he fights instead.
Dandy going to jump on top of him, does have that pounce ready, gets the reset on top of that. The final auto attack does take him down. An interesting choice coming out from V up in the top side of the map.
Don't ask me why V was there. He knew. He saw them on a ward, and he chose to stay way too aggressively.
Meanwhile, Newbee just continue with their push down the bottom side of the map, seeing 2 people up top. And he's going to be able to take down the bottom lane inner turret as well. 2 turrets falling over towards the Newbee lineup.
Yeah, and fantastically done here from Newbee. Basically playing like Vici do around this map, eking out all of these advantages, small but assured advantages with objectives. And that's something that Newbee always want to do, is control those.
Still, Vici are in the gold lead at the moment, even though they're a turret down. They are, in fact,
Dade is actually so far behind.
They're 2,000 gold ahead of Newbee, and that's
Look at
a
the farm.
40 CS deficit. Or 30 CS deficit, sorry.
So Dandy is huge as well in comparison to Swift when we're looking at farm, and that is what is keeping them super far ahead in this game in gold. The gold's in the right place as well when you look at Vici. Dandy's a big carry. And Swift, whilst he's got his items, it's starting to become a pretty big difference.
So it's going to be the roles reversed for these 2 junglers, essentially. Swift is normally the one that wants to be the damage gold-oriented jungler, whereas Dandy likes to be more of that facilitator.
Yeah, but Dandy always super farms. Remember, he's a Graves player. It's right where that money goes. A lot more of it for Dandy goes into warding, whereas Swift wants to kill you.
Newbee, although they have been rather proactive this game, just still losing out in terms of map objectives and rotations. Turrets are falling in their favor. But the CS deficits are just growing for this jungler and the mid laner. In fact, even though V's got 3 kills up top, Along's been able to catch up in terms of CS and has picked up the Trinity Force on this Fizz.
Yeah, he does have his Triforce. You have to remember, though, that V just completed a full Spirit Visage, so it's going to be difficult to kill and can still fight you. And there should be very few situations where this not-so-tanky Fizz will be able to take on the super damage tank Trundle just yet. He's about an item away from it. I have vision everywhere, Vici.
You can see everything. They've got it in very cheeky spots as well. Not quite in the brushes or in the choke points, but in the little corners and alleys that you would normally move past to get to those areas.
And just lots of pinks, though, in defensive or middle ground areas, the occasional deep one as well.
Rift Herald being taken away by Vici, 2nd game in the row. Taking it down around the 17-minute mark to maximize its effectiveness later. It's a lot of damage being put down towards Happy. Tries to find Mystic shots on towards Easy Hoon.
Easy Hoon is so large as well. The carries, man. Whoa!
That's a very aggressive move from Easy Hoon, straight on top of Dade, forced to use the Ghost on top of his gravity field, not going to be able to get away. The rest of Newbee have now been engaged on by Vici. Swift there, gonna get locked down by the ultimate. Easy Hundo now gets jumped on by that at least. Lots of damage going down towards the mid lane. Happy is trying to kite as much as possible. Two-shot barrage is not available.
Happy wants this.
He's going for Caveman. There goes the magical journey to get him to safety. So even though Vici find the pick, they can't take the team fight.
And they walk away very effectively. Dandy's not done.
He's been jumped on top though by Swift here. A good Cocoon's going to lock him down, force the flash away. Shenpedo deals lots of damage to the backlines. V is trying to chase him down. The teleport comes in for long. A flash from Happy to get towards the magical journey. Not going to be able to get out of there. Shenpe is going to get soloed out by V, but now he's getting chased down by Danny and Long. Spear will connect, but they can't quite continue chasing this Trundle.
Yeah, they won't look for the Trundle, and Trundle will pick themselves up a kill for the side of Newbee. But Vici, with low health bars and what you would assume was recalls, stay around. Dandy actually getting a really clutch smite off on the red buff to keep himself alive on his way out. Well executed once again from this team as a 5-man unit, turning it around from game number 1.
Top of that, Dragons will be spawning in 30 seconds here. Newbee, they took down the first Infernal Dragon. Didn't quite get a chance to look at what this next one's going to be.
Nah, no idea.
Still, 20 seconds. Newbee could definitely try and put up a fight for the pit, but Vici are currently the ones in the lead. They've got another 4,000 gold advantage, kind of similar to where they sat last game.
So they've put armor onto V. They've also put him towards the top lane. What that means is, of course, they look towards the dragon now as their point they want to fight at. Dependent on what happens here, however, Lung may find it is a full Trinity Force, and Happy's standing in a predictable position.
He's got to be very careful. Chum the Waters is going to land on top of Happy. Lots of damage goes down on towards his Ezreal. Even a magical journey is going to come out, and the rest of the Newbee lineup just watches the AD carry gets taken down. Dade, though, looking to try and duke it out with Dandy here. Still very healthy, nearly. Can't quite do too much to this jungler. Going to get lots of damage down with the Chaos Storm sticking. But that final laser is not going to deal enough damage.
And Dandy has sustained because he's a Nidalee with heals that'll do a lot of damage to these jungle camps. Still, Happy walks towards the Fizz standing on a pink ward. The unsuspecting Ezreal goes down. And more control established from Vici once again.
They take down the Ocean Dragon, the second dragon of the game. Next one to spawn will be another Ocean.
They're sending people top on an army.
He's got to be careful. Swift is able to take down his own red buff.
Yeah, well, now V knows.
He's got to run. It's not very far he can go here. It's going to be Caveman that actually gets jumped on by this Trundle. Magical Journey might be have to use here to try and keep him safe. V now tries to run the opposite direction. A good pillar is going to keep it safe, but now takes the Magical Journey. Tries to get to safety wherever he can. Danny's still chasing down Subjugate. Heals him out quite nicely.
Use your manners, V, and say thank you to Caveman, as he gave you an escape. I'm not on. Look, he really wanted to use his Magical Journey.
He likes it.
He wanted V to become a penguin. I guess. Not much else he was going to get from that. But yeah, V gets out alive. Of course, it's nice that he had all of that armor picked up early when he went towards the top lane and was looking towards the turret. Looking towards taking that one down. And honestly, this is similar to the LGD game yesterday in the way that V needs to hard carry his team through what is a 4,000 gold deficit. Because if he can't do it, then really, they're going to struggle to get back in it at all.
And we questioned if the gold going onto Caveman was going to affect it too much, but you look at his items now. He's got the Locket of Iron Solari, definitely going to help his team out in terms of mitigating the magic damage that will come out from Swift and Dade, and even some of Happy's. It's a good pick, good item pickup coming in for the Bard. Rest of the board, Dandy farming up quite nicely.
Why not?
Dandy does have the Runic Echoes as well as the Rod of Ages stacking. Mid lane, easy.
Moore is so safe right now. He's the pink hunter.
What?
There are so many pink wards. That's 4 top lane. I think he's just killed one of his own off to place another one in the next bush.
Accidents happen. That's aggressive coming out from the Newbee lineup there. As Shenpedo going to get jumped on. Caveman takes a lot of damage in return. Swift is close to the top side of the map here. They just force the heal from Shenpedo.
Showing their confidence in a 2v2. They do have Swift up here, so looking towards the turret. Bard has his ulti still. Summoners are up. except Siva is at a risk of dying.
Map movement coming out from the Vici lineup though. Dandy and Azir trying to get on top of them. There's a teleport coming from Lung as well. This could be a huge team fight taking place. Happy going to move forward as V joins the fight through the teleport too. Swift misses the cocoon on towards Lung. Goes up into the rappel. A good pillar going to separate the team. Tries to lock them down. But a good disengage does come out from Newbee and from Vici.
Yeah, the problem is Vici have control still. So Newbee teleport reactively to try and defend their team, keep them alive. But with bottom lane pushing, mid lane got it the outer turret there, and they've got the inside track to it. Dade's lucky because he's obviously like looking at something else. Didn't even flinch.
That's probably what he was looking at. Mid lane turret falls down for Vici. So you get a 5,000 gold lead. Similar position around 23 minutes as they were in game number 1.
Yeah. And V even now on the bottom lane with a big stack of minions had to deal with that. So they couldn't defend. They must concede. And they do so very unwillingly.
Once again, very good map movements coming out from Vici to get them ahead in this game. Both teams want to get to the late game. They excel in their late game fights and their late game skirmishes. Newbee arguably, I can't do words. A little bit better in terms of team fights.
Maybe the trick is to change the word completely. Debatably.
Better.
They are. Debatably better. I agree.
Thank you, Rusty.
It's all right, man. You don't talk for a living.
No.
No, I think, yeah, so what we are seeing is definitely the difference in styles between both of these teams. So Vici will want to get there, they want to control the objectives, but Newbee will want to fight for those objectives.
Yep.
It just comes down to how big of a lead do Vici have and how do they execute on that. Right now, Dandy is feeling very happy with his position.
It's actually a lot of respect coming out from Vici too. We saw the teleports up to the top side of the map. They could have easily gone for a fight. Respect the team fighting prowess coming out from Newbee.
We have to respect V. And now that his teleport isn't there, you can see the slight inkling of disrespect actually working its way into the minds of Vici.
V actually chose not to go for the Ravenous Hydra this time, just sitting on the Tiamat, picking up defensive items first.
And the rule of thumb with top laners, and when it comes to your itemization, is you could build to continue to win lane, which is not what V has done, or you could build to win team fights, which means you have to stack resistances so that you have teleport presence on the map.
And he's got 40% cooldown reduction now too, with the Spirit Visage and the Frozen Heart being picked up. Also works nicely in reducing the attack speed of both Easy Hoon as well as Shen Shen Pi on this Sivir. Even Fizz, to a certain extent.
And speaking of Easy Hoon, like, Jesus. 204, 2 completed items. So far ahead of Dade. It's unfair.
CS. Half a flame for Aizen. Looking at the flip side of the map, Dade, he does have the completed Hex Core, but just the Abyssal Scepter being picked up.
Relative cost is still okay for Dade. And he's still strong. But it's not like he's in a comfortable position. He's still outright losing his lane in situations where they are looking at 1v1s.
Dragon's going to be coming up right now. It's the second Ocean Dragon of the game and the third Dragon of this second match.
Vici have control.
Looking to try and move down towards the bottom side of the rift. Long has a good inside track against V now with no teleports up and available. Vici definitely in control the first couple of seconds here. Newbee are definitely trying to fight for position, jockey for position.
They are, but Dragon has been started. Vici have a lot of control of the area. Getting through that choke point outright team fight is risky business.
Newbee look like they're just going to give it up to them. So second Ocean Dragon is going to fall for the Vici lineup. Next one to spawn will be an Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, and that is a Sivir, Nidalee, Azir, who will all benefit from having 2 Oceans. Sitting very pretty, honestly.
5,500 gold lead still for Vici. Very similar position to game number 1. All it takes for Newbee is one good team fight. They're looking for it here over the red buff. True Shot Barrage comes out, clips a lot of members of Vici. There's Brom's ultimate as well inside of a nice choke point to slow the rest of the team. That's a good ultimate coming up, but it stops to chum the waters on top of V. Lots of damage going down. Happy now. Jumps on top of it. Izzy going to get soloed out by Dade. Another good team fight coming out from Newbee. This might be the one they need in this. They find 2 kills onto Vici.
And at a 5k deficit, they still win the fight. However, Newbee looking towards this Baron, have been spotted by Vici. They need to fight, not just do the Baron.
Well, let's see if they can take this one down.
No.
Moore is taking so much damage. Happy does get clipped there by the spear. Has to move towards the back of the Baron pit where he takes more damage. They're going to go for the fight instead. Dandy going to get taken down. Immediately back on towards the Baron. Shosho Peaceby jumped up by Dade, who picks up another kill. Baron falls on Newbee, and it's deja vu for the Vici lineup.
And welcome to the Gauntlet Caveman, because it's you against the world, and there's only the turret to keep you alive. Oh, what a disaster for the Bard. An absolutely incredible fight from Newbee. Get themselves, to nobody's surprise, from a gold deficit. A miracle team fight and the comeback in gold. There's suddenly no difference between them.
It's happened again, Rusty.
And this all starts from a 1v1. Dade completely takes out EasyHoon. Both of these members were looking for a flank. Only one of them gets the flank. And the way that Newbee executed the rest of that fight was very temperamental to the situation. Bard's ultimate diffused Fizz's damage. They react to that accordingly. They put themselves in a position to succeed, working around Dade's solo kill onto EasyHoon.
Happy also playing his Ezreal quite aggressively. Arcane shifting over the wall as soon as the parallel convergence, not parallel, Tempered Fate finished.
That's what I mean, yeah, like pick their moment very impressively.
Really well
have
fought.
so much control.
And from 5,000 gold, once again, down to nothing. Completely even between Vici and Newbee. And they've picked up the Baron buff. Again, it's deja vu. The conflict of styles shows one more time here in this best of 3 series.
Dandy probably doing the most damage on his team right now to enemy champions. Shanshan P has really been struggling to stand close enough to hit anybody. Long, playing that Trinity Force build, can start to assassinate people. We've seen him do it onto Happy already.
Not if Temper Fate stop you.
Exactly.
It's not great.
Oh, Dandy.
Dandy's been caught out here. Takes a lot of damage. Happy just able to take him down.
Demolished him.
Couple more auto attacks is all it takes to get rid of Dandy, eliminate him from Summoner's Rift. And suddenly this turret's going to be much easier to siege for Newbee.
And with Dandy erased, you're right, this will be easier to siege. They don't have the easiest to wave clear, except for when the Azir is there, but this is the problem.
I feel like I've seen this happen before. I think it was last night.
This is a Baron buff, and there's no Sunfire on V.
He's actually going to get hit by the Chumda Water, so suddenly Lung dealing a lot of damage to this Trundle. He can pop down the subjugate at any moment, though. Going to take away a lot of resistances for Lung. Heal up completely to full health there. As the mid lane inner turret falls down for Newbee, they make their way down towards the bottom lane to try and siege out the bot lane inhibitor.
Still no Dandy, but he's about to be up and available. This last wave is what it's probably going to be. We'll see if they get the turret from this, and it's getting low.
They're going to try and break the base here. The rest of Vici, though, want to try and look for that fight. Long now diving in, use the playful trickster to run away. Lots of low health bars in the Newbee lineup. Temper Fate going to come out, lands onto Moore, and V locks them down for a while. Moore going to put up the shield, takes a lot of damage to turn. There goes Long into the back lines, going to jump on top of Swift, but now he's vulnerable. No flash available for this Fizz. Chaos Storm does go down, but can't quite stick to him. So Vici finds a pick.
Chase.
They're going to keep chasing here. True Shot Barrage comes out, clips the team.
And thankfully for Newbee, they have a team that excels at disengaging with an Ezreal and a Trundle, as well as Braum to an extent. You're never catching an Ezreal. They do well. They still break the turret.
That's exactly right. They break that turret. So still a very good trade. They lose their jungler, but take down the inhibitor turret. So an open inhibitor, and it's the Baron inhibitor too, furthest away from that objective.
Thankfully, the inhibitor stands.
On top of that, though, Dragon's going to be spawning in a minute 15. Newbee already have an Infernal Dragon. This will be Infernal Dragon number 2 if they can secure the objective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they should be looking towards this one. V on the top side of the map indicates that also, given his teleport being available. And with Swift starting to find some confidence as well, getting items even though he is quite far behind his jungle opponent. Things are turning around and looking up once again for Newbee, who always pull it back in their favor. And this speaks to, time and again, the strengths and the weaknesses of both of these teams. One doesn't have an early game and has a late game. The other has an early game and struggles to get to their late game. It's Newbee and Vici, respectively.
Very contrasting play styles between these two games. It's been fantastic games to watch so far. As like we mentioned earlier, Dragon's going to be spawning in 15 seconds. Newbee would desperately like to take this Infernal Dragon.
It all comes down to Dade solo killing the Hoon.
Yeah.
That's what set this all off.
Big. And it was last game as well, Dade coming out big with the Yasuo pick.
You two just need to stop hitting each other.
Well, they're going to keep hitting each other. No, not anymore. They've stopped. They listened, Rusty.
I didn't jinx anything. You jinxed it. I didn't jinx it.
You didn't say. You didn't ask them to
Oh,
stop.
hello.
Oh, they're on the inhibitor. Hello. Oh, something's happened. They stopped hitting each other. Now hitting the Nexus is here. As Loom going to take a lot of damage trying to jump on top of Happy. Danny's gone deep in as well. They're able to take down the AD carry, but at what cost? As Easy Hoon gets a good ultimate off. Dade now vulnerable. It's able to take down more as he goes down for that. Easy Hoon now. The next target, Vici, are getting slaughtered here by Newbee. Even without their two carries in this fight, they're able to take the inhibitor turret and possibly go for the game here. Only Shen P left up.
Definitely the inhibitor, definitely 2 inhibitors at the bare minimum. We'll see how they play the rest of this one out. It does look like they want to outright finish this game. V does not take damage, and as long as minions stand...
Well, they're looking for it. Shen P taking a lot of damage from V. The Trundle dealing lots of damage towards his Simmer. Will he die for it? Decides not to.
Just do the second inhibitor.
Swift was coming down for it as well. Like you mentioned, no minions to help them out. They're in fact not even going for this.
Yeah, so that was really aggressive. They look to finish the game opposed to just getting the 2 free inhibitors, and they don't get both of them now.
Still, they'll get the Infernal Dragon off of this so they can go towards the pit now. V is still rather healthy.
Look at the movements from Bard and Siva. Teleports up for Fizz.
Long, he's waiting this push. They didn't quite spot him out unless they saw that teleport coming in. There's the wall coming out. V gonna get spotted by that trinket. And Swift actually gets the lock of the Iron Solari coming for more. It goes into the air. Not quite able to live through the damage over time, but they trade 1 for 1. It stops them from taking Infernal Dragon for now, as there is a smite advantage on Vici's lineup, but they can't hold this for too long.
And V is a beast. They know he's in that bush, but he wants to go back to base and spend what is probably ridiculous amounts of money. And he has his teleport, but Newbee being a smite down means that they may not be in a position to set themselves up here. To be a little bit cautious.
Temper Fate comes out, only locks down more. Dadego does get stunned up. Easy Hoon takes a lot of damage from Happy. That was an aggressive Ezreal play. Shifts over the wall. He's on top of Shen P. Just gets a single auto attack down. As Vici successfully engaged, they lose so much health. They're already
have to defend the base
towards the Nexus, which means Newbee could potentially take down this Infernal Dragon and look towards the Baron next.
They
Vici have to back away.
So Vici can back away. They lost one of their base turrets, but Dandy's still here. Dandy is the smite of the team, and so could look towards this one. Nidalee very good at traversing all of this terrain.
But you'd have to think if Dandy jumps over and dies, that could be a free Baron for Newbee with no contest.
Yeah, and they actually now put their attention towards the Baron and concede the Infernal. They're not even taking the Infernal Drake.
Vici trying to rush them and trade objectives, but Newbee on
this
the
is
ball
clever.
moving.
By moving over there, Newbee hasn't recalled yet. They're missing a lot of health, a lot of mana, and cooldowns. They run the risk of actually being killed here.
Newbee are playing this one slow. They did take a Nexus turret earlier.
They've got bottom pushing, top pushing. Side wave control is Vici's. The Baron should be where they look, if not the free Drake that is going to be there. This is the only real opportunity that Vici will have for a little while to try and get themselves a neutral.
And we talk about the conflict in styles and how it's been working out for Newbee well. Look at Vici. They're 4,000 gold behind. Make a good map movement, and they're able to stop this Infernal Drake from being taken by Newbee, now working on it themselves.
Yeah, they play the map. Vici always play the map, but this time it looks like it's working out for them.
And it's still only a 2,000 gold lead for Newbee. It's 35 minutes into this game. Vici are not out of this yet. They like to get to the late game. It's not late enough yet. Danny's done a good job here. That map rotation coming from Vici has secured them the Infernal Dragon, denying it from Newbee.
Yeah, denying the second Infernal from what would have been 16% bonus AP and AD. Gives the 8 to themselves. You have to commend them on that movement. Newbee won a team fight. They didn't have the availability to actually get that done. Due to that lack of access, they don't look to even place enough vision or emphasis on that Drake. Baron, again, pulling them around towards the top side is the only reason they got that at all, Vici. The credit where it's due. They're still putting up a big fight here.
It is Guardian Angel time, though. It's both Ezreal and Elise have picked up their GAs.
And that's on the important members as well. The Trundle doesn't necessarily need one.
Nope.
He just doesn't die.
He's got a Titanic Hydra, though, so I did upgrade the tier 1 eventually to more of the health route, more tankiness coming up for the Trundle.
And his 1v1 against Long is ultimately just going to be pointless now, as he doesn't have a Ravenous Hydra. Swift
takes a lot of damage here. He's here and trying to find that pick. Boomerang Blade does come out, living with very low health. Swift is 80 health he was on.
Always the aggressor, and it backfires when people have Rylai's and Siva's ultimate. EasyHoon still only has brown leather bags, hasn't even upgraded his boots. But the damage that he is doing with 4 completed items is unreal.
He's got the Void Staff as well, so magic resistance on the side of Newbee, getting chopped down by a lot.
And so the balance of the game has once again shifted. When we were seeing Newbee in complete control, a bounce back towards Vici. They picked up a Drake, but slowly and assuredly Newbee are putting themselves back into this driver's seat. The side wave control, always one of the first steps, is in their favor. The vision is still there, though Vici have control of the actual pit itself.
Inhibitor is going to be respawning for Vici. Well, has respawned for Vici now.
Yeah, we're back to essentially a net neutral, except for this. Because V is pretty much just going to hit long until he disappears a little bit further back, and then hit the inhibitor until it dies, and rinse and repeat.
They jump very rusty. I think we've seen this one before.
Betcha he hits long. Oh, got it. How did I know? No, of course, he will still continue to do exactly that. And that's... I'm just put off now.
He's going to be able to take down this inhibitor if nobody is sent down to deal with him.
It's just gone.
So good play coming out from Newbee, using the split push quite effectively for this frontal. It is the Baron inhibitor too.
And there's no trade that is even possible from Vici. They couldn't look towards a fight. Look at him. Look at V.
Newbee threatened this Baron really well right now. V's going to be able to take down 2 inhibitors.
The EasyHoon's about to be visible with Long. They want to kill V.
And might turn onto the Baron if they do this. As Newbee now, they're going to be able to take down 2 inhibitors, but at what cost? V might just be able to run out of this pit. Puts down the pillar. Going to run down a long way. EasyHoon committing to this one, which means that the Baron has been started. Temper Fate will slow down for some time. V is dead, so this is a possible 4-on-5 for Vici if they teleport in, which they're going to do. Teleport straight towards the Baron pit. Disengage is going to come out from Newbee. They're trying to get away. Long looking for an opportunity to fight, and they are now going to try and start this Baron.
And so the balance has shifted towards Vici because it's a 4v5 for now. Remember that super minions are now barreling down the middle and bottom lanes. This is Vici's chance. This is their big power play, or it all gets thrown away.
What they're looking for, the Baron is going to go down. It's stolen! Swift gets it! Vici don't get the Baron. A huge team fight has broken out as the Chaos Storm is being put down. Shen P is able to find a kill. There goes EasyHoon on top of Happy. He's trying to live. Does have the GA. Heals being used as well, but Ezreal is going to get taken down. They steal the Baron, but they lose 3 members of their team.
And by the time that they get towards any kind of objective here, Vici, they don't have the Baron buff to empower minions. V will be alive again. And this is now a point where they still have Dade for wave clear, and they will have V to tank.
Another big play coming out from Swift. Stole the Baron in game number 1. Stole it again in game number 2.
The man's a thief. I have... that Lee Sin steal that he did a couple weeks ago as well. If there's one thing that Swift is good at, if there's one thing that LPL junglers are good at doing, it's smiting away from the point of power.
Well, we've got the son of Baron. We've got the son of Baron.
We've got the Prince of Thieves in this game, who has had things stolen from him consistently, being Dandy. We need a new name for Swift at this point. Don't think about it. We'll get back to it. Let it happen naturally.
Oh, it's been a very interesting game here. Newbee always on the front foot now. The gold is dead even. It's approaching the 75,000 marks. It's becoming almost irrelevant as well.
So V just bought a whole GA also as he dodged the Bard ultimate from what was essentially just a corrupting potion.
Yep.
Which means he was hard to kill before. He's now near impossible to kill. And these two are wasting their time, ultimately. Because on the opposite side of the map, V still has teleport to get there, and they are looking to siege with the Baron buff.
Ultimate was used by Sivir as well, so no on the hunt for some
and
time.
Bard.
They've got a long way to run if they want to get towards the top side of the map here. V is still doing his split push duties and occupying 2 members of the Vici roster. EasyHoon and Long trying to do what they can to wave clear, but these are Baron up minions that will hit this turret in just a bit. We mentioned earlier 2 inhibitors are already down. Final turrets left to be taken all the top side of that. Swift though taking lots of damage.
Yeah, sustain is a big question mark that's causing issues for the Newbee roster against what is a lot of poke from EasyHoon and a lot more from Dandy.
Just remember, there is only a single Nexus turret. So if they leave V alone for any amount of time, that will fall down and open up the Nexus.
It's a numbers mismatch, and as long as this Baron stands, there is a risk for Vici in this game, because 3 of them top lane, most of their wave clear top lane, they have to send 2
Elder Dragon's back up.
V.
So Newbee could try and look for that objective next as Caveman tries to slow down V. Is going to get even more slow and just slap him around with the meeps.
Yeah, he doesn't really have to be too scared.
True Shot Barrage does come out as well.
So they're banking on Dade actually getting an engage off.
This is still really good coming out from Vici. They're holding outside of their base. This is the inner turret up on the top side of the map that is being held on to. Vici forced Newbee to recall. They could definitely try and look towards the Elder Dragon pit.
That's what they want now. So
Which
it was a
spawned.
3v4 for Newbee, and they can't actually break an inner turret. Unheard of with a Baron buff in their back pocket. But Easy Hoon, he's a big old Azir, and we're late game. Which means that Easy Hoon is huge and needs to be respected at all times.
Let's see how they move around the map now. Elder Dragon not being contested yet. Going to take down Scuttle Camps, and Vici trying to push out as much as possible.
It's essentially tanks against damage. That's what we're looking at right now.
Okay.
And the tanks are good for a time. V is always going to be a big nuisance. A thorn in the backside of Vici.
He himself is moving up towards the top side of the map, so trying to buy more split push opportunities. Arguably this time on the more potent lane, which has objectives to take down. We've already seen him demolish the inhibitors.
The best case scenario for Newbee is either straight team fight, no slow play, or they play it super slow, don't get hit by Vici's poke, and let V do work.
This turret's going to go. Newbee have got this top lane turret. Vici have to pull the trigger soon if they want to stop this.
They don't have to stop this one, it's the next one. So they've got Fizz up there with the teleport of his own. Don't know about this 1v1, however.
Playing this nicely so far.
Two
V
really dense objects hitting each other
is gonna
with
try
inflatable tubes.
Gonna try and take him down. They both have a couple of damage items, but there's On the Hunt being used. Vici trying to look for a pick, it seems. Happy has to be a little bit careful. There goes the Temper Fate. Not going to connect onto the Ezreal. Able to escape that one.
Barely gets out.
You see V already looking to try and run away to get into Fog of War, so Lung can't stop his teleport.
And he is in Fog of War now, but he's also choosing to push again because the engage was not successful from Vici. They have a reasonably low cooldown on both Sivir and Bard ultimates, and they are throwing them willingly. These two, it's like watching the wacky races.
They're just following each other wherever they go. Elder Dragon being started one more time here. Newbee actually taking a lot of damage. These Ocean Dragons are keeping
They're
Vici
pushing mid lane, Vici.
topped up quite nicely. And yes, they're moving towards it. They want this turret. They should be able to take it down. Shen P and Dandy make the call to go towards mid lane.
Look at V.
V is trying to duke it out with Lung here. Inhibitor has respawned. He's trying to take this one down and will be able to get it. But the rest of the team is actually now collapsing on towards the Strundle. Has to be careful.
Big collapse. He's actually in a lot of trouble unless they start. So the way that Newbee have to approach this is force an objective so they can't rotate onto him, and then he'll be fine.
They're doing just that. They've stopped the rotation coming out from the Trundle. He's moved straight back in towards the base.
Look at
To
this
make a
as
trade.
well. No ultimate available. The poor guy. He's just having a horrible time on Summoner's Rift.
Well, that inhibitor is going to fall down, so Vici have to pull the trigger soon if they want to stop Newbee from finding advantages here and there. V getting taken out really low in the meantime. Inhibitor does fall. Subjugate now going to be popped as well. So I commentate off this very small screen.
Yeah, but the rest of the Rift and the more important part is the 4-man roster, because Vici could win through this exact 4-man.
It's a lot of damage.
If they play it right. One inhibitor is not game-ending at 45 minutes when it's the middle lane inhib.
Happy's going to be careful. In fact, they forced him to recall with that one spear that came
can't
from
recall.
Dandy.
He actually stays. And now, because Vici was showing that it was just a bait on their end, that's exactly what we're seeing. The pull and push of the 46-minute game.
This is exactly where these two teams wanted to get to, and we see them use their methods fantastically to get here.
This
now
is
it's a matter of who
Marin.
can execute best.
The mistake that they've made is V has a Titanic Hydra instead of a Ravenous. He can't sustain through what the Fizz is doing to him as successfully as Myron was yesterday.
And you look at Lung's item, he's got a Trinity Force and a Titanic Hydra, as well as the Dead Man's Plate, so dealing lots of extra damage, a couple of offensive items and 2 semi-offensive
We are just
items.
mega late game.
Whew, everybody's got 6 items. Everyone's ready to fight.
Now, Dandy's actually a very dangerous threat at the moment with his... All he's missing is the Void, the Zonia's Hourglass, or even a Death Cap, depending on how he's feeling.
Vici have actually just suddenly taken the gold lead here, and they're looking to try and take down Baron.
V is not there. They want to force his teleport at the very least.
Down to half health. Swift is waiting to try and see if he can get a steal up. Happy he loses a lot of health there as well. Has to play very careful on this Ezreal now. Swift
needs the TP
looking
now.
For a steal. There he goes in. He steals it.
Swift
He gets
again.
it again. Danny gets robbed of the Baron one more time. You look at the bottom of your screen as well. Trundle is split pushing here. Everything's going haywire.
V!
He's on top of the Nexus. He's taking down the turret. Lorga's trying to deal with it. They force the recall coming out from the bar. He gets the Nexus turret. V does have Guardian Angel. He will go down here. But at what cost? They've already lost so much in the base. He's trying to do what he can to get extra damage down. Trying to run away now, actually. It's going to get locked out by the Fizz. They've got a moment of opportunity.
No, okay, so this is the exact problem that currently stands for newbies. They're all dead but happy. If Easy Hoon kills him, or if he kills Easy Hoon, that could actually determine how the rest of this game pans. But for a really long death timers of 4 people of Newbee, and whilst the Baron was stolen, they still died for it.
Brom's up in 10 seconds, or less than 10 seconds now. 2 seconds, he's up. Swift will be up in 20. And Dade will be up or much sooner as well. It's an open Nexus. But this is a big problem. Vici now on top of that Elder Dragon. Lung and Caveman take some time, but with Danny's help, they will be able to take down this objective.
Yeah, now V does not have teleport any longer. Nor does he have the Baron buff. But with a bare Nexus and the duration that this will last being not too long of the Elder, you'd have to say that if Newbee can withhold the onslaught that is going to be inevitable from this buff, then they can put themselves into a position of power. But 3 Drakes to empower Vici means that they'll be doing 140 damage with every single hit over time.
Top of that Ocean Dragons, buffed up quite nicely. They're going to be kept
170,
topped off.
I take that back. It's more. Remember, the Elder Dragon buff actually gives it. The duration, of course, is very low on it. So, the Baron versus the Elder Dragon. We'll see it time and again.
This has become a rather exciting series. Vici and Newbee down to the wire here in game number 2.
Now both these teams hitting late game. Exactly where they wanted to be. It's almost like we could start a game between these two at 25 minutes.
Now it's time to play a game of who is not at 6 items, and that's nobody. Everybody's got 6 items here. Shan Champier has sold his boots.
Swift even has a mouse.
What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you. They're all at 6 items, you're absolutely right. You worked it out yet? It's not a brain teaser.
Ah.
Okay. Do your play-by-play thing, please.
We're just going to see them jockeying back and forth for now. Like you mentioned, Rusty, it's the battle of the Baron against the Elder. Baron does last longer. Elder is a little bit more strong in fights.
Yeah, but based off the time they got it as well, everything will pretty much even itself out. Inhibs are going to be up again. V still hasn't changed towards any other item, sticking to that Titanic.
Pings on towards V. They're waiting for him to try and show himself bottom lane.
Man's had his cereal, though. Made of iron.
Dragon is going to be wearing out in about 20 seconds here. So Newbee, even though they don't have Baron buff anymore, no more major objectives to fight over, and none on either team.
And this is a series that's gone to 50 minutes right now in the second game, which means that if Vici are able to pull this one back, claw themselves into a victory, that brings us to a third game. All things considered, they have more to lose than Newbee.
V's even gone back to base. He's picked up a Warmox for himself. That is a very big trundle here.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of health.
Surprisingly, no Thorn Mail coming out from either of these.
You can't actually
tanks.
count the bars in his health bar anymore. There's just lots of them.
Too many.
He'd be at about 5,000.
Have to see if Happy decides to sell his boots as well. For now, Shen Champi sitting on complete 6. He has got 6 different swords and a bow. 5 swords and a bow. Not sure how he carries them all.
In his backpack.
I don't see that in his inventory.
They're like Pokeballs. You can reduce the size of your inventory with your Pokeballs.
And V now has to run away from Danny and Caveman. Puts down the frozen domain.
He's just hanging as well because he does want to still be that split pushing threat. At least he could even 1v1 potentially the Sivir if it came to it.
Inhibitors are respawning, so saving grace of Vici. The base will be defended once more.
And the 4-1 is Newbee's seemingly only option. EasyHoon's damage is just way too high. He's even switched towards a Leandri so that he does as much burn damage as he can towards tanks.
He's finally upgraded his shoes as well, has the Merc threads.
And whilst we spoke about the fact that Vici are damage dealers with their items and champion choices, Newbee always being tanks with theirs respectively, the end result is that there is so much penetration available for Vici that I don't think Newbee can outright 5v5. They need to pick somebody off.
We'll play around the objectives, which seems like they're trying to do. Baron is going to be respawning in a minute 20.
And it's funny, because there has been no exploitations of the lack of cleanse, Mikhails, or even QSS on the side of Vici, with an Elise on the opposite team. If they can stun somebody, they are stuck. And they will get stunned and potentially killed through the damage that Newbee has.
You see Guardian Angel is back up as well for all of the carries here. V is
That's
actually going to get caught
people.
out. There's only a minute until Baron's going to come back up, so V has to run for his life. Subjugate's going to come out sometime, try and keep himself topped off. Uses the pillar and flashes away. It's the Temper Fate is going to come out, locks down both V and Dandy. But look at this. Newbee, they're into the base. They're looking to try and end this game as they chase it down.
They can threaten the finish.
They've gone for this. EasyHoon's going to try and stop them. There's the ultimate coming up for more. The Nexus is open. EasyHoon gets taken down. Happy's got the kill.
V's alive.
He's
How is
stopped
he
them from
alive?
going back to base. Newbee are going to finish the game 55 minutes in off of a play onto V. What a game-ending moment.
They decided that they had to, on a whim, kill V. He was threatening them far too often, and it was really grinding their gears. And just like that, the decision from Newbee was, why would we? Why would we actually defend V? He's a super tank. Like, just kill the game, end the game.
Down to the last few minutes, Nexus left open. They go for that split push and try to take down V. He didn't even die, which is insult to injury. He was there to stop the recalls as well. Valiant effort from EasyHoon trying to stop them, but it was just too little too late. Good map rotation coming from Newbee at the end.
And it's funny because I actually spoke about this about 2 minutes before it happened, but Braum and Elise are game-deciding factors in this particular game. There was no Mikhails from the Bard. He was constantly stuck in a side lane trying to hit the Trundle. They didn't have a QSS, they didn't have a cleanse, and one stun could actually determine whether EasyHoon lived or died. The end result is that they died as they were trying to defend their base.
And I harped on this time and time again, Rusty, throughout the entire first game, before the first game, during the entire second game as well. The conflict of playstyles. They both want to get to that late game. They both want the 55-minute team fights and map rotations. How they got there was beautiful to watch. Vici going through objectives, Newbee going through team fights, and it worked out in their own ways. It was down to the wire 55 minutes in. Newbee out-rotating Vici, though, was a very surprising finish to watch, though.
It's basically just a Trundle game, let's be honest. Like, the Trundle got ahead. We saw it from LGD when they 2-0'd Snake yesterday. He gets ahead, he threatens inhibitors. It hits the point where Baron is a must-defend for Vici. Elder Dragon as well as a must-defend objective, and you pull them around the map, force 1v1s, but the Trundle will always win that 1v1. The end result of this game was that they sent 3 people to try and kill him instead, because it's just that hard to do. Like, even after 3 people went down there, they got a Guardian Angel. They didn't actually get the kill. And just like that, the team-fighting team that is Newbee compared to the macro, cerebral style that is a slow-paced Vici, they still just played that against Vici and beat them with it. They didn't team-fight them in the end. They caught them out.
I think a very honorable mention as well for the Newbee lineup is Swift. What a monster. He was outsmiting Condi 100% of the time at that Baron pit, making sure he paid for that. He was a monster in that game, in both games, actually.
I hope he outsmoked Condi. He wasn't even playing in this one, but he did also outsmite Dandy, who was the jungler. Well done, mate. You're right.
It was a long game, Rusty.
Dandy, the Prince of Thieves, as he's called, someone that is notorious for being able to get Barons, has them stolen from him in situations where really Swift had no right taking them from him. Plain and simple. Very impressive, because all Swift really did in that game was get caught out of position, have really awkward movements around the maps, and struggle to get anything done, but he stole those Barons, and that was what they needed.
Besides the Baron steals coming in favor of Swift there, Dandy's had a really good performance in nearly out-farming Swift, moving around the map, getting picks quite nicely too, letting those crucial spears late game to chunk out the AD carries and knock away the key targets so they can force the objectives. He played really well. It's just the smites that came out were just too much for him. That eventually seems like it cost him the game as well with the pushes.
Yeah, look, 40 CS, the difference at very early stages in that game between the Elise and the Nidalee. It's a farm jungler against a gank jungler, but Swift wasn't really getting the ganks off. They had a 2v2 that was going decently well. They had EasyHoon winning in the middle lane in the 1v1, but it just came down to a team fight. In a situation where they shouldn't have been, they won.
Well, let's take on the MVP. I would be very upset if it didn't go to anyone other than this man here. V on this Trundle was massive and also had the game-winning play of stopping the recalls coming up from 3 members of Newbee.
30% of damage as a Trundle is still a lot, considering that he was a Titanic Hydra tank build. That is pretty ridiculous, honestly. And yeah, the game was won by their top laner. This does continue to throw me back to the LGD victory, but you get a Trundle fed, you can put him on a pedestal. Newbee showed that they can adapt to this, not just work around Happy, not just work around Dade if it comes to it, but they are a multi-purpose team that have the team fighting. This is that last point of the game where Vici, they pulled the trigger and they said, we're going to win the game.
Run, Trundle,
through
run!
V. Somehow he doesn't die. And the funny thing is the Tempered Fate, V actually continues to heal through it. And so by the point that this runs out, he has way too much health left in his back pocket.
Pulling a Swain.
V, yeah, so they all make an on-the-whim decision that they have to recall, right? The game was going to end. V stays alive the entire time with no health to his name. Miracle play to stop recalls and give them the easy victory. One man's decision capitalized on by the rest of his team, knowing that the right move is to end the game, not to help him. Very impressive.
You know, that's 2 games in a row where we saw V get MVP then. He quite frankly deserves it in both those games, but at the same time, you have to give credit to the rest of the Newbee lineup. Swift getting all the steals there, Happy playing pretty well in the Ezreal in game number 2 especially. Dade, although had a very rough laning phase against EasyHoon, was able to get solo kills and team fights against him and control the team fights really well
That
as well.
was the actual thing that lost them the entire game. Is EasyHoon was so far ahead he had to carry, but he couldn't carry because he somehow got soloed by the Victor, and that is the strength of Victor right now. Just does too much damage over time, and that's meant to be the thing that Azir excels at, where Victor was meant to be the immediate explosion and burst damage. Somehow got the 1v1, and as a result, that team fight that should have been Vici, should have been throwing us to a 3rd game, brought it back to square one.
And there's still some really good plays from EasyHoon though. We saw him, you know, go back to try and deal with V. They got to pick onto the Trundle while he was taking down the inhibitor, move back towards the Baron, which should have been their fight. Swift getting the miracle steal and people being able to stay alive kept them in that game. So EasyHoon had a good game, just that it wasn't enough to win for Vici here.
He did his part, but it feels like when it comes to Vici, if EasyHoon's not engaging, then it's not really his part that he's meant to be doing that is being done. A lot of damage was there, but they were relying on the Bard ultimate and the Sivir ultimate to facilitate the engagements. But you throw back to where Vici actually looked the most successful, is they have that Nidalee still, but they have a Lissandra, or they have a Twisted Fate perhaps, someone that can make movements and actually engage for them through that middle lane position. The Azir can do that, but because he was constantly trying to flank, the way that Newbee would play this out is they would have put Dade on the exact same flank, they would force a 1v1, and that's their, I'm going to call it primary engage tool in EasyHoon, out the window, and as such the team fights felt a little bit more awkward.
One final thing I want to touch on about the game in particular was Shenpi. We've seen him time and time again for Vici step on to the Rift in games 2 and 3 as the substitute AD carry for Endless, pick up a very scaling heavy AD carry like the Twitch, like the Jhin, Lucian a couple of times as well. We didn't see much from him in that game. You know, he was very quiet on the Sivir. He still had 6 items at the end of that. We're still dealing lots of damage.
Everyone did.
We just didn't see much from Shenpi. Not the hyper carry we expect him to be. He had a very similar performance to Endless.
I mean, he played Sivir firstly, so it's this happy medium, once again, that the LPL loves to run between damage and utility, and he just didn't do the damage, he only really had the utility, and I feel like this, once again, does actually correlate to what Newbee were doing to them, and that was forcing the Sivir and Bard a lot of times to deal with the Trundle, and from that, they find opportunities on the opposite side Newbee to win the game, but his Sivir, it felt lackluster. I'm not going to say it was entirely his fault, but I do prefer seeing Shenpi on champions like Twitch, champions like Jhin, something that's long-range, hyper-carry-esque, and can really get him across the line and give Vici the victory.
I mean, you can take a look at where these two teams stand now. Vici, they were, like we mentioned earlier, a very true blue, middle-of-the-pack team, beating a lot of teams that are weaker than lower and losing the teams that are higher than on the table there. Newbee's been kind of hit and miss. They took games off like Saint, IG, now Vici, but losing to EDG, Game Talents, Snake, very interesting here and there, but that game really showed that Newbee, you know, they kind of found a bit more form leading into the cross-conference of the LPL.
This is one of the more interesting points. We briefly mentioned it in Champion Select, I believe, coming into the first game, but Vici are notorious, firstly, for so far in this split of the LPL being better than teams that are worse than them individually. So they come into this game, and you would say Newbee underperforming at present in this split. Looks like Vici should be the favorites, and they can close out that game. But because Vici's performances against RNG and WE mean that they were getting 0-2'd and they were losing a lot of those, and they were only beating OMG, LGD, IMA, teams that are at the bottom of the pack, this really cements Vici as middle tier. It doesn't put them above middle tier. It means they have the potential to, but they struggle to beat better teams. On the day Newbee showed up to play, most of their roster was performing well, and that means that they were better than just the individual outclassing that Vici had. Made things difficult for them.
Does this show us in any way where Newbee are at the moment? Because, like we mentioned a few times, they're kind of hit or miss right now. Do we have to see a few more games from in the cross-conference? It's going to take a while before we can really decide where they're sitting at?
I'd love to say that the team fighting kings are back, but they're definitely not. It's not the same Newbee that we're used to seeing, yet we saw them win team fights from behind. We saw them execute on strategies that were their flavor involved in it. So fight for the Baron, capitalize on mistakes of the opposition team when behind in gold. They're not back yet. They're definitely bridging themselves towards a point of power, and it's good to see them having 2 wins in a row.
This is another very unique start to a day of cross-conference. Day one, we saw the big matches go back and forth between EDG, RNG, one-sided games throughout the entire day. Yesterday, we saw the big upsets taking place. Now we see these very long, close games coming out. Cross-conference has been a very interesting shake-up to the LPL.
Generally, it's just been a cause for confusion. It's just like finding Zubats everywhere at the moment. It's just outright confusing. Newbee beating Vici, I can't say I expected to say that at the start of the day. I can't say I expected to say LGD would beat Snake either, ever, really, like at all. So yeah, this cross group has been ultimately just a bit perplexing.
And it seems like we have a little bit more time. We can talk about the next match that's going to be coming up here. Invictus Gaming taking on RNG. This has the potential to create more of those surprises, or finally find some normality in the LPL.
Yeah, okay. Look, if RNG lose to IG, I'm just going to call them tilted by EDG. Okay, so the thing with IG is they're a happy team. They're a really good team-based team because they just work well together and they enjoy playing with each other. Against RNG, they're outclassed in every single position except mid lane. And even when Xiaohu shows up, I'd call them closer to even than anything else. So really, look at IG, RNG, I'd say good luck to IG, but if they can fire, they do have a decently high ceiling for skill. It's just that their natural floor level is elevated because they're really good as a team because they're friends.
Do you think we can see anything that they could capitalize off of the EDG game, though? Because RNG, the 2 games they lost were one-sided in EDG's favor. Is there anything IG will be looking at to try and take to them in this game?
The assumption for the next set is simply Zatai, in my opinion. I mean, Tabe and Rain aren't meant to have a great time on the Rift, but Zatai can actually carry because he gets more resources than that of Lupa.
Well, that's all from us here for the first match, I believe. We're going to take a look at the highlights very quickly for that game, as it was Newbee taking on Vici. Crazy long games in both matches, down to the wire. Neither team was out of it until the Nexus fell.
Yeah, super
It was an
close.
interesting day.
And this was one of the first team fights that really cemented Newbee's position on this map and gave them what was a 5k deficit back to net neutral. And from that point onwards, it was tooth and nail for every single aspect of this. The Fizz had a lot of strengths assassinating people. The Azir just really struggled to get things done, as did the Sivir. As the low-range AD carry, Xuan P was just getting wrecked by one spell that was lingering.
And I think we really have to highlight one more time, V2 Swift. V2 MVP performance. That was very swift from Swift as well. Credit him that. That was flawless steal coming out from the Elise.
Classy steals on more than one occasion.
But like I was trying to say, V2 MVP performances stood out one more time. The Maokai game, we give it to him. He had some 100% kill participation and was a huge frontline threat for the team. But I think the big time where he really proved himself was that second game on the Trundle. Split pushing really well, playing the macro game not quite nicely for Newbee too, and stood out. We talked about it earlier. He's a top laner that really flies under the radar.
Yeah, V definitely performed well. We said he's either hit or he's miss. Today, he definitely hit the mark.
Well, it was a titanic game between Newbee and Vici, which Newbee were able to take 2-0. We're going to go into a very quick break, but we'll be back with the second game of tonight, which will be Invictus Gaming taking on RNG. Don't go anywhere.